turn that off. Like to welcome everybody to Let's Talk Racing. I don't care if Al likes that or not. Tough shit. Alright, we got our first caller on the phone. Eily, would you go ahead and introduce yourself and give us a little bit of a quick bio about how you got into racing, what you're doing now, and what you're hoping to do in the future?
Hi everyone, my name's Eily Stafford. I'm currently driving the Toyota Crowder 7.0 Pro blown alcohol dragster. I run in the NHRA Hot Rod Heritage Series. We're a West Coast car and based out of San Diego, California. I got into drag racing when I was 12 years old. My dad took me my first race and I fell in love, so I decided to pursue it. When I was 16, I got my first license, and from there the rest is history. I've always had the hope of getting into a nitro car, so hopefully in the next couple of years we can see what we can do.
Cool. Now, so you're looking to go for nitro. Hopefully the pay scale over that is better than what you're in now.
Yeah, actually what I'm doing is pretty cool. It's index racing at 200 miles per hour, so you're at the top end, and it's coming down to milliseconds at the top end. Like I said, at speed of 200 miles per hour, so it's pretty cool.
Now, you're always running on quarter-mile tracks, or do y'all ever do eighth mile?
We do a little bit of eighth mile, but it's mostly exhibition.
Okay.
All right.
We actually have a local strip here in San Diego. It's called Verona 8 Mile Drag Strip, and we do a lot there as far as testing and exhibition and some match races and stuff like that.
Cool.
All right, hey, Eily, this is Collin Brown, a legend car driver here in Virginia. I have a few questions for you. Out of all the other forms of racing, what made you pick drag racing?
The sound, the speed, and the smell.
That's what most people say about other racing too whenever they get exposed to it. So if you would have been exposed to another type of racing, you might have gone to that instead?
You know, my whole life I've always been around thunderboat racing. It's kind of what my dad was involved with, but I don't know why I never went after it. There was just something about drag racing. I was always going to local circle tracks and watching the guys, but there's something that clicked with drag racing that I really liked.
Okay.
Describe the adrenaline rush you get from each race, and do you ever wish you could have the adrenaline rush for at least 400 laps?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Describe the adrenaline rush you get from each race, and do you ever wish you could have the adrenaline rush for at least 400 laps? Like NASCAR.
Basically,
yeah, I can imagine going 400 laps, but
that'd be like 400 runs all in the one right behind the other.
I don't know what to do after 7 seconds. But no, dude, that's crazy. You know, a good example of it was we were testing a couple weeks ago in Fontana, and just as I was strapped in the car ready to go, it started to hail on us. I had to get out of the car and just get undressed and calm down. But at that moment, you're ready to go. So the adrenaline's pretty hardcore.
Cool. Now, I know you and I talked a lot about some of the stuff, everything, and I've talked with other drag racers too. When y'all, now, do you ever go to the? I'm sure you go to the ones that are televised, right?
Not so much. We do a lot of online stuff like bank shifts. We're not so much on that professional or sportsman level yet where we're recorded.
Explain that to me.
We're nostalgia racers.
Huh?
We're nostalgia racers.
Nostalgia racers?
You know, really racing how it was back in the 70s, but all the front motor stuff. So a lot of that's not televised, which is unfortunate because it's pretty cool.
Do y'all have somebody that travels with y'all and videos it and puts it like on YouTube or anything like that?
Sometimes. You know, we work with the guys down at Crowder Cams and Equipment down in San Diego, and they do a lot of it, so some of it's on YouTube, but it's not every race. It's usually just the bigger ones, like the California Hot Rod Reunion and the March Gate. So you can find YouTube videos.
Yeah, okay. I would think y'all should get it collectively, somebody together.
Yeah.
Create a small company and then have them travel with y'all and do all that stuff.
Make a YouTube channel and start putting them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
So now, as I understand it, and let's see, you're living out in San Diego, and correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you also did your school out there as well?
Yeah, graduate school and my college degree.
Okay, what's your college degree in?
Automotive technology.
Okay. Now, just out of curiosity, I hear a lot of degrees. So what is that supposed to cover? Is it like a catch-all thing or what?
Automotive, yeah, I touch over everything from suspension to transmissions.
Cool. So, what's your next race you're going to be going to?
The next big one for us is going to be the California Hot Rod Reunion in October, but there's some other stuff that we're going to try to do in between. There's a big race in Arizona that we might go to, and like I said, we do a lot of match races at our local track.
How far do you stray from your home base?
Most of our races are in Bakersfield, so it's about 7 hours or so.
Cool. Now, let's see here. I'm still looking at some of your Facebook stuff here, and I understand that being a female race car driver, you intimidate the guys. I understand.
A little bit. For the most part, they're pretty cool. I think I've been around it for a while now, so I think they know who I am.
A force to be reckoned with. But
no, a lot of them are. I've been pretty fortunate for the most part, but there have been a few that I think they have a problem with it. Old school.
So, who you got on the car now?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Who are your sponsors that you have on the car now?
The major sponsor is Pearce, Camden Equipment, and then we're also working this year with TMS Titanium. It's a local company. It's a lead supplier and stocking distributor of titanium mill products. So they've been a huge help this year.
Now, tell us a little bit about the race car itself that you drive.
The race car that I drive is a Greg Scott racing engine. It's 548 cubic inches. It has about 2,000 horsepower. We run a Art Car California Performance Transmission power glide. It's pretty simple. No electronics.
Huh. Yeah, I figured the car people would love hearing about what you're using here. Any rituals you do before you get ready to go racing?
I usually take a few minutes to myself, and I don't get caught up in it. So I'll just go in the trailer and sit down, listen to some music, or do some mental runs, but that's about it.
You're not alone. I know quite a few, and I hate to say it, it's the females that do it. The guys, they're out there, they start pacing around. I was race Saturday night with one of the top racers in the area, and I was talking with him and actually had to start telling him jokes to settle him down. I thought he was going to go crazy. But a lot of the... Huh? What was that?
Yeah, I think the guys do get kind of pumped up.
But yeah, most of the girls I know that race, they'll take and go off to the side for a few minutes, half hour, and some of them plug in the iPod, and you'll see them standing up on their crash carts, just doing a little jig, listening to music, and they're just chilling out. I think that's so cool. You gotta have that.
That's what I've always done.
You gotta have that spot to retreat to relax, chill yourself out, and get ready to throw down.
Exactly, just in the trailer and music. I know a lot of guys that actually like to race kind of angry. They really get pumped up and they start punching their crew members. And
I think they're going to build up the reaction time or something, or
I don't know.
So what's the fastest you've ever gone on any of your runs?
690 at 199.6 miles per hour.
So you're tapping on the 200-mile-an-hour door.
We are, and the car's gone 199 a lot. We can't get that 200, so hopefully soon.
What do you think it's going to take to do it?
Not eat breakfast.
Oh, jeez. If it was that easy, I'm sure you would have already tried it. Do y'all have any...
We just have to have the right conditions.
Do what?
We just have to have the right conditions. You know, we tried it in Fontana a couple weeks ago, but it was so humid.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it.
Look
so,
for a
maybe a night run.
Get a cool and a dry run.
Yeah.
Do y'all have weight specifications on the cars?
We do not in our class.
I was going to say, what's the scariest thing you have ever seen or experienced while drag racing?
I've actually crashed, and I got a little bit of everything. I did not catch on fire, but I barrel rolled, hit the wall, landed upside down, got stuck in the car because my doors were jammed in. So that was definitely a little bit of a rush. At the top end, I'd already gone through the finish line. That was going pretty quick.
Now, let's see. You just had a birthday not too long ago either.
Right.
And I'll be nice and won't ask. But I already know anyway.
I'm not ashamed, 28.
Yep. I tell you what, very mature, looking for that age. That's a good thing. Have you approached actually anybody to get yourself further up?
A little bit. It's just, you know, at this point, this class that I'm at, the next point is really going to take a lot of sponsorship dollars, I think, over a big pocketbook. So, and I'm working on a few things, but we'll see what happens next year. I'm actually really happy right now in the 7.0 car. Like I said, it's a pretty cool rush. I mean, the race last year, the final race we went to, I lost in the final round by 0.06 of a second.
Ooh.
Yeah, like I said, you're going 195 miles per hour. That's a rush.
Now, have you actually had...
Cool.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's pretty cool wheel racing at those speeds.
Has anybody given you a chance to try running in one of those cars just to see what it was like?
No, they have not. It's pretty expensive to run those cars. So hopefully I can get a license here pretty soon. We'll see.
What? They don't race for gas money anymore? Jeez.
I wish.
Really? Now, curiosity, and I know I've talked with you. Now, if you're winning in your division, what are you usually taking home for a paycheck, if you don't mind thus asking?
Depends on the race, but I think it's usually around like $1,200. Like I said, it's not, we're sports and races on the nostalgia side, so it's really, we're just kind of doing it for the love of it.
And how much would it cost to replace the engine from scratch?
Ooh, that's a good question. A lot. It's got to be up there. I'm guessing maybe 20-ish. 20,000.
We better win a lot of races. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is now when it takes to build the chassis pretty easy to build and not that expensive, or?
No, they're pretty expensive. I've never done them from scratch, but I know there's a lot of time and a lot of effort that goes into it. And just to do a wheelie bar, it's about a weekend's worth of work, so.
Huh. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we're starting to wind up on our time here. Go ahead and do it one more time. Shout out to the sponsors. And we'll let you get back to having fun out there in California. Oh, by the way, have you ever been to an In-N-Out Burger?
I have. I go there all the time.
I figured I'd ask that. Our guy from Autoweek is not here tonight, and he always asks anybody we have that's from the West Coast about In-N-Out Burgers. Because he swears by them. Whenever he travels out on the West Coast with the NASCAR races, because that's what he mostly reports on, he's always making sure someplace he can stop and get an In-N-Out Burger as soon as he's landing at the airport.
That's right. It's awesome. All right, but just a shout out to Power Cams and Equipment for all their support and TMS Titanium. Check out their website, power.com, tmstitanium.com.
Cool. All right, well, go have fun, and good luck at your next race, and we will catch back up with you later, young lady.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. I think that's our big problem. We aren't geared up for racing, dragster racing questions. So, starting to remember some of the stuff. Those of you watching on Periscope, I'm on the other side of the camera tonight. I will not be able to see your questions. Actually, I might be able to. I'll have to see if I can turn on and monitor the periscope.
Put it up on the big screen.
And put it up on the big screen and watch from there. It's trying to make it all hard for me, I tell you. Let's see here. Oh, we're missing somebody calling. I better give them a quick note here. Let's try to sign in over here to Twitter and find my little linky thingy. Oh, poor phone's been going crazy. Bear with me, guys. I'm going to try to get this thing...
You gotta go get a track phone just so you can.
I tell you, you gotta get a burner, just so I can monitor it. Oh, where is I? Okay. Hey, Lori, if you're listening, retweet my link for Periscope. Here we go. Ta-da!
Got it.
Phew.
How was Hampton Heat last weekend?
All right. Yeah. Do what now?
I was asking, how was Hampton Heat last weekend?
Hampton Heat. I actually have part of that on Periscope.
All right.
But there was some cars got torn up, some feelings got hurt. Couple of laps in, it was stuff being torn off.
Was it?
Oh gosh. Number 90 car, he got like the whole right side of his car torn off. Do something, I tell you. Hey, we got somebody, yeah, I see you're new to Periscope, figuring this stuff out. Don't feel bad, there's a lot of you like that. There we go. Does that look better now? Alright, I can see myself again. Alright, I'm going to quickly go text somebody real quick and see what happened to them. Why don't you, you and your papa can talk about your next racing.
Well, my next race will be Friday up at Southside Speedway on Friday night in Richmond. Just as long as the weather holds out, we'll be good to go.
It's been a tough year to try to get on the track, it seems like. We've had several rainouts and one other race where the track really didn't seem safe, so we didn't put our car out there. They raced anyway after they got a drive, but there was a lot of weepers out there on the track, so we decided not to.
Oh yeah, and trust me, I found every weeper.
Yeah, well, we decided not to pile it up
on the first lap,
on a race like that. So anyway, it's been tough to get on the track, but hopefully you get back out there this week. You got a little bit different setup and some fresh tires and all that. So we'll see how well you can do.
Yeah, I feel like I got a good car for Friday, so we'll see.
Yeah. What about the new aero package and whatever else from this weekend's race?
Going over to Michigan.
I don't know what they were looking for or hoping for, but I sure didn't see what they said they were looking for.
No.
Going into that race, the whole idea was that they were going to get more pack racing, the ability to pull up and pass people, this, that, and the other, and that's not what I saw.
No, I didn't see
on the Indy race this past weekend. I saw whoever's in front stayed out front, and the other cars fell in line. So I'm not sure what to say about their little new aero package.
Let's talk racing.
Hello.
Hey, what'd you do? Fall asleep?
Oh, I didn't realize you said Eastern time.
Oh no. Okay.
Sorry about that.
I thought everybody realized it's all Eastern time anyway. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Give everybody a quick bio, how you got into racing, and let them know what you're doing now and what you're hoping to do in the future so everybody gets to know you.
Okay, so I'm Alex Taylor. I have a 68 Camaro that I like to call the bad Camaro. My dad and I actually built it when I was 15. It used to be my mom's car. Started out as just a simple car, naturally aspirated LS1.
kind of snowballed after that. It's a twin turbo car now. I race in Drag Week and recently Rocky Mountain Race Week, and so it's a week-long race, and that's kind of what I do now. But my dad builds cars, so that's where I got into it.
Cool. Now, you got plans to move up?
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Do you have plans to get up to a higher level of racing?
You know, as of right now, I'm kind of just playing it by ear and winging it. Definitely, I'd love to stay in the racing industry, and moving up, going faster is definitely always going to be an accomplishment, but I'm just playing it by ear, having fun with it right now. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but we'll see.
Now, how old are you now?
I just turned 18 on July 14th.
Oh, happy belated birthday.
Thank you, thank you.
We're busy scanning through your Facebook pictures with the Camaro here.
Yes. Yeah, the car, it started, like I said, it started off super simple and snowballed, and ran on blast with it. We just ran. I actually just made my pass. I've been trying to break into the 8s for a year now, and last week I actually made an 899 pass at 103. So definitely excited about that.
Cool. Now, give us some specs on your car, the engine and everything else.
Engine, it is just a 6-liter truck block, so you know, a stock LS1 block. So nothing fancy special there. We've got all the good stuff on the inside though. We recently just upgraded to a Crowler valve train, so you know, we changed from hydraulic stuff to solid, and that really, really helped us. And now we've got, like I said, a twin turbo, so we're 166 millimeters. It's all Collie Dominator controlled. So we were able to control boost, transmission, everything with that. And the car, like I said, snowballed. That happened last year when we upgraded to all that. And so far, I mean, we're just working on tuning stuff. We're hoping, you know, to get 850s out of the car eventually, but we're going to have to see.
Now, do you have any sponsors that help you out?
Sponsors, yes. My biggest sponsor, a very big sponsor, as far, not necessarily parts-wise, but getting to get the car out there is definitely Crowler. And like I said, we just upgraded to Crowler cam, lifters, rockers, all that good stuff. So they're one of my biggest. They are my biggest. And then recently, Automotive is going to help us with fuel system, because I have a dual fuel system, so that way I can just switch a 2-ball valve, unplugging your wire and plugging the other pump in, go from race to street mode. So Automotive, recently, Tile, Ward Warner, those are some of my main ones, and Holly, but they're all great, great companies.
Alright, hey Alex, this is Collin, legend car driver here in Virginia. I have a few questions for you. Do you have a pre-race routine to get yourself prepared before each race?
Do I have a what team? I'm sorry.
A pre-race routine that you do to get yourself prepared.
Pre-race routine, yes. Actually, I'm going to explain what I do as far as the races that I normally do. So I have, like I said, I do Rocky Mountain Race Week and Drag Week, and for those of you that aren't familiar with that, it's a week-long race. And we drive 1,000 miles, and you only have your crew member in the car that used to help you. So that's my mom. And so we drive 1,000 miles, and we have to carry all our stuff in the car. So every morning, because we have 5 days, every morning we go to the track, and I have to switch the fuel tank, like I said, fuel system, switch fuel system, adjust the shock, and change from street to race tires, and change my program. And that's just with a key switch. So that's pretty much all I do to the car-wise. Me, myself, if it's the first time I've been out in a while, I just, you know, run through my, you know, everything I'm going to do on the track as far as burnout, you know, just going down the track, you know, just compose myself, get myself in that zone. But, yeah, the car is relatively simple to get ready for each run.
What's the scariest thing that has happened to you during a race?
I'm sorry, I am having trouble here.
Oh, what's the scariest thing that has happened to you during a race?
Scariest thing? Actually, last year on drag week, I have a parachute on my car, but I never pulled it. And I was going so fast that we were actually at Great Bend, and it's an awesome track, but I had never been there, and so I didn't know how short the shutdown was, and it's not super short, but like I said, I hadn't pulled my parachute. So I had not planned to pull the chute, and I got forced into the track, and I knew my brakes were getting bad, because like I said, we drive 1,000 miles, and earlier in the day I tried to stop at a stop sign and couldn't, so I turned, and I just couldn't get stopped that fast. So I knew they were fairly bad, but I got them in the track, and I was like, I'm not going to stop. So I actually, it's too late to pull the chute because I'm too close to the end of the track. But I started actually contemplating, I was like, where am I going to go off? Like, what's the best fucking chute to go off? But that's my scariest thing as far as actually being on the track. Luckily, I haven't had one of those experiences yet. Try to keep it that way.
Hey Alex, this is Al Pearce. I'm a little bit late getting to the party tonight, but I want to ask you something. I read a great deal, and I've been around motorsports for almost 50 years. I read a great deal about people who say that Danica Patrick is the best female race car driver of all time. And I immediately throw up because I can't accept that on any level. Does it insult you that people forget about Shirley and forget about Lori Johns and forget about Angel Sealing? And does it, as a drag racer, does it bother you that ladies in your profession who are bona fide world champions never seem to get the respect that they deserve?
Like you said, Danica Patrick is definitely looked at as, everybody says, oh, so you're going to be the next Danica Patrick. So when I say, yes, I'm a racer, and that's automatically the conclusion they jump to, is, so you're going to be like Danica Patrick. I'm like, no, wrong area of racing. Well, I'm not taking any credit from her. I definitely see what you're saying. I try not to let it bug me, and it really honestly doesn't. To be honest, when other people are talking about, the other women in the motorsports. However, like you said, with the whole Shirley Muldowney thing, and that, something that actually, I think is overlooked, Shirley paved the way. She really did. But then there's other people that paved the way, such as Mark Hamilton, and I honestly look up to her so much. I recently got to meet her, and she was the first woman that had an NHRA license, and I think she is one of the women that's most overlooked because, she definitely paved that pathway. So, yeah, I definitely think she's overlooked, but in general, no, it doesn't bug me, but I think some steps are, and people have misconceptions about, drag racing in general.
They seem to forget that Shirley Muldowney was winning championships and beating men heads up, 30, 40 years ago. I didn't know whether y'all ever wondered, why didn't Shirley get the attention she deserves, but I mean, she's in every Hall of Fame that can be, so I guess she's been recognized by somebody.
She's definitely recognized, and for anybody who's not watched the movie Heart Like a Wheel, they definitely need to see her story and the history and all that, because honestly, I mean, like I said, she paved the way. Yes, there's still struggles for women in drag racing, but there's not anything like she had to go through or any early woman had to.
When you make a really good pass, does it seem like it's quicker than usual, or does time slow down? Do you sort of remember everything you did to make that pass successful, or is it all such an automatic blur that you can't remember it?
That's actually a really good question. Honestly, I like to say time slows down. I was recently, a couple months ago, I was actually next to somebody when they crashed. Some people might have seen it. It was when Tina Spears crashed her truck at an IHRA event. And afterwards, you know, I've never been hit by anybody when this had happened. And so afterwards, everybody's like, did it scare you? So I was like, no. And they said, you didn't even know it happened. I was like, oh yeah, it happened. I said, I was at the fire. And I said, I explained to the people that were asking me, I said, this is what happened. And I explained the truck did this and this. And, you know, in reality, it happened in a split second. But I was there, and then a photographer actually caught this. They caught, and the way I thought in my head was exactly the way it happened. So yes, time definitely slows down. And you know, when you're out there and you get crooked on the track and somebody's like, oh, that's so scary. I'm like, no, it's not. Like when you're in the car, you have time to think about it. So yes, time definitely slows down. What was the other part of that question?
Well, I mean, I just wondered whether a really good pass, a really quick pass, seems to go quicker than just a little tiny bit slower. Yeah.
Really good pass. It's kind of hard, you know. For me personally, I come back and I'm so pumped up on adrenaline that I come back and it takes me a minute. And as soon as I calm down, it comes to me later what happened. It doesn't happen at that moment. I'm like, oh, that's what it was. It's more like, wait 5-10 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what happened.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, no, I mean, if you can remember every detail about an incident, if you can remember every little thing that you do or everything that happens, that means you're pretty good. Because a lot of people who, even people who drive street cars, don't remember what happened in a wreck or don't remember what happened, and it just tells me they aren't very good drivers to begin with. So you must have...
You know, something I do like to say, as I was talking about earlier, when I said Barb Hamilton, she actually told me, you know, don't ever just be a driver. You know, anybody can be a driver. You know your car. And that's something that I think really needs to know your car. I was there for every single second my car was being built. I helped with it, or I watched my didn't do. And so I think in order to be a really good driver, which I'm not saying by any means that I'm just great, and I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, like, in order to even, you know, be able to look back and see what happened, you need to know your car, you need to know what, you know how it works. And so I think that that's where I have an advantage of being able to look back and recap is just, you know, by knowing the car.
Okay.
Well, Alex, we're going to go ahead and let you get out of here and let you go back to getting ready for your next race. Go ahead and do another quick shout out to the sponsors, and we're going to go ahead and get on our next guest.
Okay, sounds good. Did you say give a shout out to somebody? I'm sorry. I'm in a busy place.
That's all right. If you don't want to thank your sponsors, I'm sure they'll appreciate that.
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely a big shout out to Crowder because they are, you know, some of the
yes, you can
really
ask
got
questions.
me out there this year and really helped me at Automotive, Holly, Kyle, Ward Warner, all those companies. So keep them in mind.
All right, then we will catch back up with you a little bit later on, young lady.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being with us.
Bye.
Bye-bye. How you doing tonight, Brian?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
We're having fun. We're getting to talk racing. I know you like that part too.
Yeah, that's part.
Go ahead and do a quick bio about yourself. Introduce yourself so some of the people that are listening get to know about you.
All right. Well, obviously my name's Brian Keselowski. Grew up in a racing family, and right from the beginning, I wouldn't know anything else other than racing. So, my father, his father, every part of our family's been involved in it. We started driving in 1999 in local late models up in Michigan, and progressed on when we won races and championships. We moved on to the next series and moved up to the ARCA series in 2004, and started winning races there in 2006 and 2007. So when we moved up again, we ran the Nationwide Series. And, struggled for sponsorship there. Got a chance to run a few cup races here and there, but kind of have pushed back in the last few years and trying to get back out there and do as much as we can. So we built a new ARCA car so we can go racing this
Cool. Hey, I got a quick question before I forget. One of the guys on the internet had said something about there was something that happened on Monday. They brought some cars by or something like this.
I'm sorry, say that again.
On this past Monday, I was talking to one guy and he had said that they had a bunch of people brought some cars by your shop or something like that.
Oh yeah. They brought a couple of the cars that they have done up, like street cars that are done up like the old late 70s, early 80s cars, like Rich Penny's and Dale Earnhardt Seniors and stuff like that. So yeah, that was pretty neat to see. It's kind of a street car version, half race car, half street car. So it's definitely a little different, but that's pretty neat to see. And you got to be pretty dedicated to build a whole car around that to really love the sport. So that's pretty neat to see that they did that. I got a chance to show them around our shop and show them our land speed cars that my dad runs and show them some of our new ARCA cars and that car that we're going to run Pocono this weekend with Matt Keselowski. So I think they got a chance to actually get up close and personal with some of the newer kind of cars that we're racing right now.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Hey, Brian, this is Collin, a legend car driver here in Virginia. What are some of the challenges that you faced this year, and how do you see it turning around?
Well, I mean, obviously, some of the biggest challenges with most race car drivers is funding. So that's the biggest issue that I've had. How to turn it around is just try to keep beating down doors and get out there more and show that you belong. So that's what we're trying to do. In the meantime, I've been crew chiefing for Matt Keselowski for about, I think this is coming up on the 6th or 7th race for the year now, and we've been really well at Daytona and Talladega, so that helped, and then we bought another car and started running some intermediate races. So last race out at Iowa, we were the fastest in practice and qualified on the front row and led a bunch of laps. So the better that goes, the more that people are interested in what we're doing, and honestly, I don't know any other way, so racing is it for me, so I got to keep my name out there as best I can, whether that's crew chiefing or driving.
Right now we're talking with Brian Keselowski.
We'll do that as much as we can, but that's going to be definitely funding.
If you got any questions, we'll try to answer them.
Hey Brian, this is Al Pearce with Autoweek magazine up in Detroit. Although I'm not in Detroit right now. Let me ask you. You mentioned earlier that obviously I know, and most of our listeners know, you grew up in a racing family. Would your father and your grandfather and your uncle have been maybe disappointed if you had not gone into racing? And at what point during your growing up years, even a specific age, did you know without question that this is what you wanted to do?
Well, I would think that it's not like I've talked to a bunch of people that their kids have been around the sport, so I would say that if you're a football player, your kids probably want to be a football player too. And, I think that's the same as a race car driver, and I can't say I ever was directed towards, you need to be a race car driver or anything like that. It was kind of a thing that we just did. It was just something that you do, and I remember as a little kid helping my dad out at the races, and that's all I've ever known, and I guess I didn't know any different, so I guess that's just what we wanted to do. So I can't say that we were really pushed toward that. I didn't get a chance to really know my grandfather, so I couldn't really say how he would look at it, but with my uncle and my dad, they always built all their own cars and their own engines and took them to the racetrack, and they did it without a lot of money, and that's what we grew up with. And both me and Brad, we've been in this since we were little kids, and we really don't know any different. So if you don't know any different, you just do the same thing that your parents did. So that's kind of how that all really came out. But I don't know if I'd wanted any other way. And I tried to have a regular job before. That doesn't work out so good. So honestly, I wouldn't see it any other way.
Tell us something you did to torture Brad growing up.
I'm sorry, come back with that again?
Tell us something that you did to torture Brad growing up.
Oh, I don't know if I should tell all the story.
Oh, come on, we won't tell nobody.
We were both competitive with each other as we grew up, and I mean, right from the get-go, we used to race pedal bikes in the basement, and, if somebody got out of line, we'd wreck each other and things like that. I think we probably did as much to each other as we did to anybody, so, but, we definitely always have been competitive with each other, and always wanted to win over top of the next guy, so that, whatever it took to do that, if you had to crash a guy, you crashed a guy. So there's been a bunch of bike crashes that probably ended up a lot better off than they should have been.
Brian, I'm sure you've been asked 1,000 times, and this is going to be 1,001. But is it? And I hate to use the word difficult, but is it a little bit of a burden being the older brother of a guy who's had some success? Do you feel like people might look at you and think, well, this guy's pretty good, but he's not his brother? Is that? And the only reason I bring that up is there was Davey and Clifford Allison. There was Buddy Baker had a brother. The Burton brothers. Their brothers have been in racing for years. Donnie and Bobby Allison were both pretty successful.
Allison's.
They've been brothers for years in racing, and I've often wondered whether the one who had a little more success than the other ever was treated differently or looked at differently, and whether the guy who was trying to get there found it kind of a burden to have to carry that load on him. And it's a difficult question. I hope it doesn't insult you, Eily.
Broadcast?
Yeah, well, yeah, I can speak for myself. I can't speak for them, but for myself, yes and no. And where it is right now, especially this day and age, when we have social media and things like that, there's not always the most pleasant people in the world. And they kind of just have their own opinions, and whether it's really the correct opinion or not, it's really hard to really deal with that, because, their opinion is, well, I never saw you win cup races, so you must not be very good. I'm like, well, yeah, but I was never in Ron Penske's equipment. So, I mean, that's not really fair. It's, I can't produce what Roger Penske could produce, and I was doing it on my own. But, conversely, if you're worried about what everybody else is doing, then you're already beat. You know what I mean? So if I'm worried about what somebody says on that, then I might as well not be doing this anymore, because that's not what it's about. It's about what I want to do and what I'm trying to do, and be damned what anybody else thinks at that point, So yeah, it can be difficult. There was a time that, people looked at me and my brother, and there's a time, and I still hear it today, that they said, man, I remember when we thought, wow, you were going to be the guy that makes it, and there's no way Brad's going to make it, and it's circumstances. There was times that I thought I had rides that Brad ended up getting, and there was, some animosity towards that, but no, it is what it is. It's racing, and you have to be in the right spot at the right time to get the right deal. And if it doesn't work out, we could all be sitting at home tomorrow and wishing that we could be doing this. So, you can't look at it that way. You just have to look look forward and try to make things happen the way you need to make happen. And, honestly, I don't feel like I've gotten the breaks that Brad has gotten at times, and I've had to work a lot harder for it. And, maybe I'm a better person for it.
On those occasions, whether it's late models on short tracks or big tracks or whatever, on those occasions when you raced against your brother, who did your parents kind of pull for?
I don't think they can officially pull for either of us.
Okay.
There was not very often when we first both started driving, because we always kind of drove in different divisions. But when he started winning races in the lower divisions and then moving on, and then we both got into like the Outlaw Super Late models around Toledo and Michigan area, and then we started racing against each other, and it always seemed like we had a magnet for each other. We were always close. So it was, if he would qualify in the pole, I'd qualify second or third, and if I qualified in the pole, he would be right there. And, there were times he would win a race and I'd finish second, or I'd run really well and he was right there with me, and so it definitely was always close. There was a time I spun him out. I remember at Toledo, he was mad. I mean, man, was he mad. But my dad was right there when he seen it, and he's like, well, this is what happened, and he tried to explain what happened. And I still don't think he was happy about it, but, it is what it is. You're always going to be competitive with each other just as much, if not more, than anybody else. But you probably at least treat each other a little bit better than most people will. And
the reason I asked was, if you remember back about 3 Super Bowls ago,
Lorin just
the Harbaugh brothers. Jim was coaching San Francisco, and John was coaching Baltimore, and they played each other in the Super Bowl. You remember that, of course, because they're Michigan guys. And I remember that at halftime of the game, their parents traded sides of the field. In other words, they sat on the Ravens side the first half, and then the second half they sat on the 49ers side. And I thought, you know, that's the perfect way to do it. Of course, in racing you don't have half times, but the Harbaugh mother and father settled it by changing sides at halftime. So, you know, and I guess you're a big Michigan football fan then, I presume.
I'm more Michigan State.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. My brother's Michigan, so you know we always have to go against each other on that.
Yeah, but you both pull for the Lions.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, definitely both of us are big Detroit, Michigan sports fans, so we're both pulling for that. And you know, I don't think either of us, now that we both live in North Carolina, but no, neither of us will ever give that part up. Even though it'd be a lot easier to be a fan of somebody else, because it's just the way you want it.
The Tigers
not being easy.
Yeah, the Tigers won today. Verlander had a good game, so maybe they're coming back.
That's good.
Yeah, maybe they're coming back.
What's the best advice you've gotten from your brother, and what's the best advice you've given him?
Oh, best advice from Brad, it's hard to say because you don't really get a chance to give each other advice that much, you know? And, I mean, I can't pinpoint one specific time. I mean, there's other little times where it's not so much advice, it's more it's just like, hey, this is how this is going to happen, so look for this, you know? Like, I can remember specifically Daytona 2011, trying to make my first Cup race, and, you know, we come together, and he's like, well, they're going to be fandom drafting. Well, okay, well, you know, I've never fandom drafted before, so how's this going to work? And he's like, well, you kind of got to be fast enough to keep up. I'm like, well, that ain't happening, you know? So that's kind of the way that really worked. As far as the other way around, I mean, I helped Brad figure out how to drive a clutch. But I don't want to take credit for his restart. That's not me. But, you know, I couldn't say there's any one specific advice on that other than just trying to help each other out a little bit here and there.
Cool. Well, let me go ahead and let you get out of here, Brian. Go ahead and do a shout out to your sponsors, and we'll catch back up with you.
Absolutely. Well, unfortunately, we haven't got a lot of sponsors right now. One guy that helped me out in Indy, Western Reserve Asphalt up in Cleveland, Ohio. I really appreciate that. I've drove late models for him in the past, and every once in a while he likes to try to help me out. So hopefully we might be able to run Berlin next week, and you know, I'm trying to put some stuff together for that. And first up though is Pocono. I'm crew chiefing for the number 54 for Matt Berszewski, and I'm really happy with how all that's going. We're running really well and have a really good shot at winning racing. So look forward to Pocono this weekend.
Cool beans. All right, we'll catch with you later.
Have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Lorin, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We're talking racing. We're having a good old time.
Well, it don't get much better than that.
Really? Go ahead and introduce yourself and give everybody a little bit of bio and give a little bit about a history in your racing background.
Well, I'm kind of a third generation racer. My grandfather owned cars that raced on the beach, Daytona, Darlington in the 50s, and then periodically raced all through the 60s in Cup and primarily ARCA. And then my father built a pretty significant Cup team at the end of the 70s and had that all through the 80s, and then ended up selling the team to Robert Yates. And so I was kind of around racing my entire life. You know, I was basically kind of born into it, and really it's all I've ever done. And so currently I'm Jammie McMurray spotter. I work for a company called Spire Sports and Entertainment, which is a management company, and we help develop up-and-coming young drivers like Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell, among others. So, yeah, so that's kind of what I do.
Cool. So you had a good night last Wednesday.
We did, yeah. You know, Christopher is a dirt driver and extremely talented, and so we felt going into that race that he had a shot to win it, and he held true to form. He sure got it done. It sure was an exciting race for sure.
So how late before you guys finally got to sleep at night, or was it next morning?
Well, it was really late for me because we did the whole victory lane thing, and kind of hung out for a little bit, and then I drove 2 hours on to Indy because I had the whole Indy weekend coming up after that. So it was a 3 o'clock in the morning for me that night, but it was good because I had the next day off, so it was all good. And hey, I'd stay up all night for a win anytime.
All right, hey Lorin, this is Collin Brown, legend car driver here in Virginia.
Hey.
Describe some of the hardest things about being a spotter, like dealing with weather, clear communication with your driver, and also dealing with other spotters from different drivers.
You know, it's become pretty normal for me. I've done it so long, and as far as weather and all that stuff, I mean, you know, obviously if there's weather, we take cover. So it's not that big a deal. If it's hot, it's hot. It's hot for everybody. So, you know, weather really doesn't affect me that much. As far as dealing with the other spotters, it's a bit of a fraternity, and everybody gets along really, really well. It's really a great group of guys, and fun to be around. And you know, we have our issues when we race, and they get sorted out, and then we carry on to the next one, and it actually works out really well. I mean, some of my best friends are on the spotter stand, so it's been a great, you know, number of years for me to get to work with all these guys and get to know them, and they all have, you know, very diverse backgrounds. A lot of ex-drivers, crew guys, just they come from all over the country. Everybody has a different story, so it's a pretty unique group of guys, actually.
Lorin, this is Al Pearce from Autoweek up in Detroit. We often hear that the driver will say, the spotter said I was clear, and obviously I wasn't. And there've been an occasion or two when drivers and spotters kind of blame each other for something that happens. Who is ultimately responsible for making that call?
Ultimately,
the driver shouldn't yell at you, should he?
Well, you know, I mean, look, when we do this thing, we're in it together, and we all make mistakes, and you know, you do the best you can. Sometimes you have really bad angles you have to deal with. It's where you're looking, you know, straight at the car, and you're trying to clear a car up or something. It's really hard to do. But ultimately, you know, I kind of live by the adage, no information is better than bad information. So I try to always make sure when I tell him something that, you know, it's correct. And, you know, at least I do my best to do that. And, but ultimately, really, it's the driver is driving the car. He's in control of the vehicle. So it's ultimately up to him. All we do is try to assist him with information, basically give him cues on things that he can't see. And that's really what we do. I mean, we're by no means driving the car. Certainly not with the guy that I work with. I mean, he's just phenomenal race car driver, Jammie McMurray, and has a great awareness of what's around him. And I think all the top drivers do. They do have that. And so we just try to assist them. And you know, if we see something or you know something that'll help, we try to give it to them. And if not, you know what? I stay quiet and let him do what he needs to do. You know, sometimes I'm so quiet that he'll say, "Hey, are you there?"
Yeah.
You know, that type of thing.
What is the worst track and what is the best track to be spotting from? Or are they all? Certainly, Bristol must be easier than Indy, but what's the best and the worst?
Well, a lot of that's going to go with preference. You know, for me, last week is really hard at Indy because we're on top of the pagoda. We have two spotters, one on the front and I'm on the rear. I can see the majority of the track, about 3/4 of the track, but I can't see the front straightaway. I can't see pit road. I can't see the flag stand. So I feel really out of touch, and it's just really hard to spot from inside the racetrack. And so Indy for me would be probably my least favorite track to spot. as far as my favorite track, that's actually a hard question because that would probably just be my favorite track. And I would have to say, you know, since I was a kid, my favorite racetrack is Daytona, just because it's Daytona. And I grew up going there as a kid, as a young kid, little kid, 5 years old. And you have great memories of it, and it's Daytona. It's our Super Bowl. It's the premier event, and so I love Daytona, and I'll always love Daytona. As far as racing, I actually like, you know, when they get the package right, kind of like what we had at Kentucky. I really like Charlotte. I love Charlotte Motor Speedway. I like when, you know, when they have good racing there, it's really good, and you know, I really like that. I enjoy Bristol the way it is now because you can race all over it. So I do like Bristol. But I'll be honest with you, you know, if I can see and you get into the rhythm of the race, I like them all. I just like racing, and I like being a part of it. So I like them all. Now,
at road courses, do you have two spotters there?
Well, like at Sonoma, I will use somebody in a certain corner that I have a blind corner, but I could primarily see the whole racetrack because we're on the side of a hill. You know, Sonoma's down in a valley, and so we're on the side of a hill, so I can see, you know, 90% of the track. So I actually really enjoy Sonoma. Now Watkins Glen's another story. We have 3 to 4 spotters at Watkins Glen, and it's a little harder to keep up with them, and you know they come by you, and then it's, you know, a minute later, and then they come by you again, and then you kind of got to pick them out of where they are and who they're around. And don't enjoy that as much as Sonoma.
Right.
But,
how did you find your way into being a spotter?
Well, obviously, I was in racing via my father. So the way I looked at it was, this was the best way for me to be a part of the race, and I felt like I could be good at it. I have a lifetime of knowledge of being around racing and primarily cup racing since I was a kid. You know, my dad won the Daytona 500 with Buddy Baker in 1980, and I was 13. So you know, I've been around cup racing basically my entire adult life, and so I felt like I could be pretty good at it, and so you know, I got the opportunity to do it, and the drivers said, "Hey, you're pretty good at this," and it just kind of went from there, and I've been doing it for almost in the form that we do it now, man, almost 20 years now.
After the race, are you just as mentally tired as the driver?
Not so much tired as you're a little bit wound up. I always feel a little bit wound up. It takes a little bit of time to kind of decompress after a race, but you know, we're nowhere near as tired as those drivers. I mean, they're putting it on the line. We're basically, you know, watching and assisting, but those drivers are you know, they're hanging it out, they're sweating, you know, they're in there digging in the heat and making it happen, and you know, we're just trying to help the best we can. So I would say we're nowhere near as tired as the drivers.
So your father can be the one we can blame for bringing Tony Stewart to stock car racing. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, you can actually blame me for that one.
Okay.
And,
I was wondering when you said, yeah, I mean, Harry, I've been covering NASCAR for 45 years, so Harry's presence is well known to me, and I didn't know if it was him or somebody in the family, but I know that Tony came in driving a Ford, as I recall.
Well, it was actually a Pontiac, and
okay.
It was a Busch car. We started a Busch car, but then we were going to build a Cup team, and that was a Ford team, but Tony didn't feel like he was ready, and so we ended up basically selling his contract to Joe Gibbs.
Right.
And that's how he ended up with Joe. And but I went and scouted Tony. in 1994. Had been watching him since '93, but actually went up to meet him in '94. Actually at Eldora, coincidentally, and he owns the track now. And it's funny because we laugh about that actually, about meeting him there, and he owns the track now. But 1994, the 4 Crown they have at Eldora. I actually went up and met with him and talked to him and said, "Hey, would you be interested in stock car racing?" And he said, "Heck yeah, I would." And kind of developed a relationship, and he and myself and my dad got along really well, and had a pretty good time putting this little program together that we put together. And we found out really quick that we had way more driver than we had team at that time, and we kind of knew we were in trouble. And then the offer, we met with Joe Gibbs a couple of times, and Joe basically told us what he had in place, and that he was interested in Tony, and so we ended up doing a deal with Joe, and Joe just, they took off from there. And we just weren't in position to give Tony what he needed for the level of talent that he had. We would have held him back, and we would have hurt his career at the point that we were getting back into racing. So that's kind of how that deal went down. It was we ran him in '96 at a select number of Busch races, and then we sold his contract in '97 to Joe.
Yeah. My last question is this: Does it pain you, as it pains a lot of people, to see what Tony's going through?
Well, it does. Yeah, I mean, Tony's a friend of mine still. I mean, to this day, and I feel for him. He went through a traumatic event with his leg. I mean, compound fracture, through the skin. He could have easily lost his lower part of his leg, and he had to take all the time to deal with that, and he did, and got himself back, and then to go through the whole ordeal with Kevin Ward Jr. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine how hard that is, and so I feel for him. I really do. It's a traumatic event to go through, and then really back to back, two major things within a year like that, and it's certainly probably taking a toll on him.
I trust you do not think he's done.
No, I would never underestimate Tony. He's maybe obviously everybody has their own opinion, but maybe one of the most talented, if not the most naturally gifted driver that I've ever seen. I mean, there's a lot of people who would probably argue that point for different guys, but I know what I saw from him, and how versatile he was, and how he could get in anything and go fast and be competitive and win in anything, on any surface. And so, yeah, I wouldn't underestimate him. I mean, and really, too, if you think about, go back to 2011 when he won the championship, and you talk about Kyle Busch winning, what's he won, 4 out of 5, right, in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Tony went 5 out of 10 in the chase when it was on the line. 5 out of 10. That's that's unheard of.
Including Homestead, where he had to do it.
Including he had to win it to tie, and then wins it on a tiebreaker.
Right.
I mean, that's when the chips are down, and so pretty impressive numbers that a guy could win 5 out of 10 in the chase. When the pressure's on. So I wouldn't underestimate him. He might be like Jack Nicklaus at the Masters in 1986.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He wins the Masters at 46 years old. I wouldn't underestimate Tony.
Cool. We'll shift gears a little bit, Lorin. I told you I was going to have a surprise for you tonight, but before the show got rolling, I got a text. I was going to have Robbie Allison calling in and talk with you at the same time, but he's going to wind up being on 2 weeks from now instead.
Okay. Well, let me tell you something. I talk to Robbie about every day, so That's cool that you do that. Talk to him on the show, but I'm sure I'll talk to him. I'll talk to him before you do.
Yeah, well, he's at the track. Apparently, he had to do some testing on a car. They had some issues with it and wanted to make sure it was right. And I think his birthday is tomorrow too, if I remember correctly.
I think that is correct. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I've been working hard to try to get Robbie going, trying to help him kind of get started and get him moving up the ladder. And it means a lot to me. The whole Allison family. Bobby drove for my father in 1981, and then obviously we brought we put Davey in the car in 1987. He drove for my father in 87, 88, and then my dad sold the team to Robert Yates after the 88 season. But my dad put that program together, and I had a big hand in Davey getting in the car. So the whole Allison family means a lot to me, and then to be able to help Robbie. I mean, this is my third generation of Allisons that I've got to work with. So it's truly an honor to get to help this young man.
Well, good deal, Lorin. Tell you what, we're going to go ahead and let you get back to working. I know you've had just loads of fun sitting in the AC at Bristol watching Jammie go round and round.
I did, yeah. We had a good test today, actually. So I'm actually really excited to go back to race at Bristol. We had a really good test today and got a lot accomplished. So we're feeling pretty good right now.
Well, good deal. All right, I will get back up with you. I'm going to try to catch up with you when you guys get to Richmond.
That sounds good. I'd love to be on there anytime.
All right, bud. Have a good night, and we'll talk with you later.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, too. And while you were gone, I talked to a young girl in Bakersfield, whatever it is, out in California, drag racer. And she loves In-N-Out burgers.
Of course she does. Everybody does except you.
Well, I haven't had any, so how can I make the judgment?
Too bad we can't go get one right now.
Yeah,
You can ship it to us.
Well, actually, you
We'd have to try it.
Overnight it.
I don't know if it'd be any good or not.
Wouldn't be the same.
You need to talk to one of your buddies, and we'll just talk to Tony. Give us that plane. We'll just go out there and.
Oh yeah.
We'd order a value meal. I bet it costs us $150 to get it here.
Tony's a real buddy of mine. Yeah. All right, let's go eat.
Let me go ahead and get ready to kick this down. Well, everybody, we will catch y'all next week on Let's Talk Racing, and I didn't do it that time, Al.
I know it. You
See
probably
y'all.
did it at the beginning, though.
Huh?
You probably did it at the beginning.
I ain't telling you. You'll have to watch.
I'd like to welcome you. Well, do it then. Don't say you want to do it.
It just sounds nice to do it that way.
All right, let's go.
All right, we're out of here. See everybody later.